You just trust the process. That's what we say a lot in the sports world. You just trust the process, and
Yeah.
you use the word control. It's a word that comes up a lot in my work with people because
Mm.
a lot of people struggle with that, and so I think I find it to be really like freeing and liberating to not have to be in control. Actually,
Mm.
when you do that
Yeah.
work, you realize, oh, it's nice to just let go and just let be. It's almost like a superpower, right?
Yeah.
And so, like being able to tap into that, yeah, I mean, that's mental skills training. And so, I've always sort of thought of myself as a coach, which not every psychologist would.
You could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we're meeting Dr. Peter Economou. He is an author, a psychologist, and mental performance consultant. Hello, Peter. Thank you for joining us today.
So happy to be here, Anna. Very excited.
Thank you. So let's start a conversation by diving into your journey of becoming the person you are today. What led you to discover your true passion in life? How did it start for you?
Yeah, it's funny. There's no straight road as you figuring out where you're going in life. All the roads are very, very curvy, and that's super exciting to me. So, started out um, two older brothers, and kind of very high functioning family, and brothers played baseball, and parents were kind of always running around, and three boys, lots of high energy, and we played all of our sports really. Growing up in that area, I grew up in New Jersey. You did all sports. So like the fall, you'd play soccer, and then winter was basketball, and then spring was baseball. But I always wanted to be different. Something about me is always kind of wanted to have a bigger impact, and so I started swimming in high school,
Mm.
and so was always a decent student. And then yeah, like after I graduated college, I finished my swimming career, and I wanted to go, like I knew I wanted to go into a helping field, and then psychology just kind of fell in my lap, and the rest is history.
Wow. So you kind of discovered your path, even like since you were a child, and the sport kind of led you to that true passions of yours, right? And I know you also being a coach to those who are in sport, and you
Yes.
train them to really focus on how to become that high performer in what they do. And what would you say the most important factors when it comes to mental performance and being a high achiever, especially when you're like in the top 1% of, if you want to
Yeah.
be the best. So that's what we're talking about here. And how can we tap into that potential of the power of what every one of us has, but don't
Yeah.
know what to do.
Yeah, it's almost like a superpower, right?
Yeah.
And so, like being able to tap into that, yeah, I mean, that's mental skills training. And so, I've always sort of thought of myself as a coach, which not every psychologist would. But I think, having grown up in the world of sports, my father was an entrepreneur and, kind of ran businesses. And so I always sort of saw what that was like and what it took. I mean, it's a lot of
Mhm.
sacrifice and a lot of hard work. And so you have to stay healthy, you have to stay grounded to be good at all that.
Yeah. And also, like you mentioned, the health, it becomes your priority. So I
Yes.
feel like a lot of times we don't prioritize our mental and physical well-being enough to see what can we bring out to the world. Because if we don't fill the cup enough with the energy that's required and fulfill all of the needs, nothing will be presented to the world as a service to other people, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I love that you use that metaphor. You have to fill the cup. You got to
Yeah.
water the seed, fill the cup, and that takes work. And I don't say that in like a intimidating kind of way. I say that in just a realistic way. Like it takes commitment and it takes work to make sure that your cup is filled. Because the world that we live in, especially you and I in the New York, New Jersey area, it's it's shaky, so the cup's constantly spilling. And so, you got to make sure, like, how do you keep your cup steady and full?
Yeah, especially with a lot of distractions.
Yeah.
We're always on the run, doing something, and not really stopping and pausing and giving ourselves the time to, process, especially those emotions that rise up on a daily basis.
Yes.
And people just tend to suppress them and ignore them and avoid them. And in the end of the day, don't we wonder why we're feeling this way. Everything comes back to us not giving ourselves enough time to really sit with our emotions and let them be released. What do you think about like emotional health, and how does it really relate to overall well-being?
Yeah, well, you're asking a psychologist, so emotional health might be one of the more important ones. Being able to understand and have insight, I think is what I heard you saying.
Yeah.
Have to be able to have insight and awareness, around feelings, and if you're starting to feel burned out or if you're feeling irritable, like being able to articulate that is super important. So I think emotional health is probably critical for all of our well-being. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we hear like how we've been raised during our lifetime and what are the messages that being given to us, and how
Yes.
we tend to treat our emotions, how we kind of like look at them as maybe it's a weakness to express how I feel,
Yeah.
and we just kind of need to learn. I feel like it's important for us to learn how to treat ourselves the way we require that, because it first comes from us. We have to show
Yeah.
ourselves this love and respect and self-care to nourish everything that is
Yeah.
within, right? So, because it's like the foundation, everything then reflects back into your like physical world, and then it's a ripple effect how you treat other people and the relationship that you're engaged in. With us making ourselves a priority, it's something that everyone should, I think, focus on a daily basis and be consistent with that. It's not just like once a month, but you have to be always aware. And everything,
Yeah.
yeah, comes back to awareness and being present in that moment, right?
Mhm.
Because of all the distractions, sometimes we just really don't notice,
Yeah.
or we tend to not give it enough importance of what is it that comes up. So how can we become more present? What worked for you or maybe for your clients to help with being aware? Maybe some kind of like daily routine that you developed in the morning or before you go to bed. How can you bring yourselves here in the present moment?
Yeah, present moment living is hard. I mean, you said a lot of really great stuff there. I mean, I wanted to take a point to say about like the cross-cultural stuff. I mean, absolutely that people, depending on their culture, have, shamed us around emotions and,
Yeah,
gender
right.
expression, things of that nature. So I think that that is absolutely a part of overall health, is getting a really critical, healthy sense of oneself. It's a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
identity development work, which is where psychologists are kind of helpful to conceptualize the development, like what's developmentally appropriate. And so culture is has a significant impact on that. In terms of
Mm-hmm.
routines, there's lots of mainstream books around habits, and so building habits and all that. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't, whatever a reader or listener kind of connects with, that's the book to read. I don't have like a recommendation per se, but it's about just trying to cultivate some kind of practice, and the practice will take some time to become just really ingrained in you, and it becomes a part of your culture then. So
Yes.
like for me, it's like every morning is a meditation, some quiet time, and a workout.
Mm-hmm.
Every night there's a meditation, so that I follow and study the Zen tradition. So it's always sunrise, sunset. Um, but of course very American and New York metropolitan area of me. I'm never done with work by sunset, but
Yeah.
I do try to make some time to acknowledge that the sun is setting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I believe meditation is very has a lot of benefits. I've noticed
Hmm.
for myself and a lot of people who I interacted with, and you just shared that as one of the tools that you use. And I would think like it's some tool that we can just tap in and it's available to all of us. And it
Hmm.
really brings you to that sense of calmness and peace, and really helps you to connect with yourself, to calm your mind. And yeah, like I said, being in that stressful environment, we also have to be aware of what's available to us in terms of the tools to bring ourselves to that center, to ground, right? What can we
Yes.
do? And with that knowledge, we know we can always, um, use that tool whenever the time comes and everything is available. It only comes to back to reminding ourselves to be present and knowing that it's important for our well-being, right?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I like what you said because it's you don't want to only do it reactively, So
Yeah.
it's a tool, and when you do it proactively, it's there, and it does contribute without us even knowing it's contributing. So we don't want to only do it when we're feeling like life has just gotten tough in this moment.
Right. So we don't want to wait until
No.
it's too late, I would say. It's
Hmm.
better to prepare yourself for those times to come, because they will, there is no avoiding that. And
No.
but again, like nowadays, a lot of tools are available. I just want people to be aware of what's out there so they can use that for their own advantage.
Yeah.
And uh, also, I want to touch upon the books that you wrote, because I mentioned you an author. If you can just let us know what books
Yeah.
came to life and what inspired you to write them.
Well, COVID inspired, the first book actually, Mindfulness Workbook for Beginners, because there was more time. It was a
Mm,
scary time. I had been doing telehealth and treating people on through web-based systems for over 10 years when COVID hit. So it was a pretty easy transition in that way. Um, but it was still like working in this really unknown, scary time, and I felt like more people needed mindfulness. And it's really one of the first, if and maybe still the only kind of general mindfulness workbook. It's not specific to any kind of disease or diagnosis, but it's really just how someone can kind of do this and integrate it into their life, no matter what their life looks like. Whether they're a homemaker or working at a local coffee shop, like it's all ways that, or a CEO, like anything that in
mm,
between, it's really a thing that could just be integrated into what someone's doing.
okay.
Yeah.
So one book is about mindfulness, and I think there is another one, right?
Yeah. So the other book is more of like a journal.
Mhm.
It's a mindfulness journal for anxiety. So
Okay.
that one's more specific for how you could kind of take anxiety and really just kind of address it head on, not let that take control of you, but rather let you kind of understand how you can work within, and use the anxiety. So these are all, both books are not meant to be read cover to cover.
Hmm.
There's like little kind of snippets, like a buffet. You kind of go
Yeah.
in, you read a little something, you taste it, and then you can go walk out. Digest, and then come back, maybe do a
Mm.
little bit more tasting, and then come back and digest. So that's the way they're meant, because that's the process. The process of building a mindfulness practice is it's long term. It's over your life. You never really arrive. I remember being at a silent retreat, and one
Mm.
of the taste shows was about like enlightenment, And it was like the first time I had heard that, like, um, there's really no such thing as enlightenment, even though it's the fourth
Mm,
noble truth. And um, because, like, once someone's arrived or kind of believes that they're enlightened, then they've already lost it. And so
yeah.
it's not this kind of Western idea of trying to achieve, when it comes to that stuff. It's really like a release of achievement. It's wild.
Right. Yeah, enlightenment is something people chase. I feel
Yes.
like they see it as a goal to come to this realizational point where you feel like you achieved it. But yeah, like you
Yeah.
said, once you release that and you just in the process of, kind of like evolving,
Yeah.
and there is no end to it actually. It's
No,
like it's everlasting process of evolvement,
it
and you can
is.
just enjoy and like let go and be in it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a different experience,
It is.
but I see how, yeah, I see how people can get fixated on,
Oh, yeah.
something that really like they feel like they don't have in their life, and
Hmm.
something that they start to chase, and they don't really see that everything that's given to them, everything that's provided right here, right now is enough, and they don't
Yeah.
enjoy or feel grateful for that. I feel like the gratitude practice is something we also have to cultivate and really integrate in our life every
Yes.
single day, and remind ourselves that we have everything, and everything that we experience and people that we interact with, it's kind of like for our own benefit, for our own growth and evolvement, right? So, and we should
Yeah.
appreciate all of that, because the more we focus on the positive aspect, the more positive will come. Don't you think?
Well, I think I can imagine a couple listeners feeling like, well, God, I wish it was that easy. I can imagine people saying, well, if I just think positive, then I'll feel positive. Gratitude is not only thankfulness for what's good in front of us.
Yeah.
Actually, it's important to make the intention of, like, gratitude of the bad. That's
Hmm.
what comes out of a lot of research around vulnerability, where we say, like, we can't just choose, the brain can't choose what it wants to hold on to.
Hmm.
And so I love that you said that, because gratitude is critical. I usually kind of couple that with some compassion, so that
Yeah.
when I'm in a moment of challenge, I want also to experience compassion. And it could be compassion for self or compassion for others. We know that there's a lot of research to support that as well. A lot of compassion focused work can have a tremendous impact on one's well being.
Hmm. Yeah, compassion and vulnerability. I like how you mentioned that um we have to feel safe to share, right? To be open, to not
Hmm.
really be afraid of letting it out, like sharing either with your friends or maybe somebody that could hold that space for you, but really talking about how you feel, and
Yes.
um and that also builds a relationship with people when you are authentic, when you are
Yeah.
willing to share, when you open. So this is an important piece that really contributes to well-being as well. And yeah, not everything that happens in our life is positive or like rainbow and unicorns, right?
No,
But
exactly.
acknowledging that everything that happens to you is for your own benefit, no matter what, because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't see it in the moment, but
Yeah.
thinking back to that moment in the past, then you
Hmm.
realize, I know why it happened, right? But
Yeah.
when you're here and something is unexpected, let's say, enters your life, you can just still meet it with gratitude, even though
Yes.
it's not what you expected, but perhaps
Absolutely.
you don't know the bigger reason or purpose of it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Well, and that not knowing, I think it also comes from meditation. You don't have to
Yeah.
know the purpose of something. It just you just do. You just are. I
Yeah.
had a mentor once that would say, just be. Just
Yeah.
be. Um, it's hard. It's really hard.
All right. Yeah,
Hmm.
because we are doers. We always want to be in control and know everything that comes and goes.
Yeah.
And it's hard to release control. It's hard to not know and be okay with not knowing and really like
Yes.
let go of that control, knowing that something is taking care of all of that, right? Like you
Yeah.
cannot name it, you just trust.
You just trust the process. That's what we say a lot in the sports world. You just trust the process, and
Yeah.
you use the word control. It's a word that comes up a lot in my work with people because
Mm.
a lot of people struggle with that, and so I think I find it to be really like freeing and liberating to not have to be in control. Actually,
Mhm.
when you do that work,
Yeah.
you realize, oh, it's nice to just let go and just let be.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think first we think when we know for sure, when we're in control, then we feel better. But
Yeah.
once you learn how to release that control and let go, you feel even much more better than you would without, with doing all of that before. Because then, like, it's impossible to know everything. It's impossible to control every single action that happens. It's just overwhelming, it's exhausting, and
Yeah.
you have to come to the understanding that it's okay to not know. It's okay to release it and relax into unknowingness of all
Yes.
things and just be and just do your best, right? At this
Absolutely.
moment, what can you do right now, or what you are really in control of inside of yourself, right? Not
Absolutely.
outside, because all of those outside action happens with you not taking control of that, but
Hmm.
within yourself, what can you do to be at your best? And
That's
that's
right.
you should focus on. And that's all you can, right? And that's
That's it.
enough. And that should be enough for you. And I feel like we also have to kind of celebrate those wins, right? Even if it's a small win, but we have to show ourselves that we can do it, that this is something I should be proud of, and not um, ignoring or like dismissing of what's been done so far, right?
Yes.
But really
Yes.
acknowledging them, bringing it to light and showing ourselves the evidence of what we did, what we can, and that builds the confidence over time, right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, and also connected to sport, I believe any kind of sport, it's all mental. Even though we see it as like physical evidence of people performing, like right now, I'm watching the Olympics. I'm so in
Yeah.
awe of what people can do, right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy. But every one of us, if we put this amount of work as that person did, and like everything comes into place, all of these factors, but what it's showing you is the evidence of a human performance, right? That
Hmm.
human being, just like you, did that. So that is possible.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and in every type of sport, I feel like we just need to know the strategy of how to achieve something, and everything comes in mental first in order to really be at your best in the physical.
That's right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about like mental skills training, and it's understanding that I can't just envision a goal and I have a gold medal. I mean, it takes a
Yeah,
lot of work to get to that. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, these are people that have sacrificed, years and years and years. And so it is very beautiful to watch it. So I'm also enjoying it. So I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I feel we all have our own skills, talents, abilities, everything that's unique to you, that we should really kind of like acknowledge for ourselves and let ourselves be creative, let ourselves have the outlet for that and express of who we are in our unique way. And that's something that is important for like for the fulfillment in life, because a lot of times I hear people not fulfilled, like working maybe for the job they don't like and all of
Yeah.
that. But I think maybe we should start looking into what is it that we want, like being clear of what gives us that desire to be ourselves, or how can we express ourselves, what can we do, maybe start it like as a side hobby or project or something that will help us to really have an outlet for the creative part of us. And
Yes.
this is something been overlooked, and I feel it's important to really also prioritize in our life.
Yeah, I think so. It's important to have more going on and definitely to tap into your creative parts of your brain.
Yeah. Right now, I know that you have clients and you've been a mental performance consultant and a coach, and you've been executive coach. For those who would like to connect with you and find you online, how can they find you?
All my socials, the official Dr. Pete. So official Dr. Pete, find me on Instagram and send a message and would love to connect.
All right, I'm gonna also add it in show notes as well. And as we close today, what would be the final thought for our listeners?
I just hope that everyone just realizes that, life is all about turns. It's
Mm.
wherever the turn is, the road's not straight. And so one thing is just to make sure you have your seatbelt on as you're going around all the different turns.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and wisdom, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.